Joining us today, I am very pleased to welcome for the first time to the Northern Miner podcast, Greg Smith, President and CEO of Grounded Lithium. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adrian. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. I mean, lithium has been such an interesting story in the last few years. So tell us about Grounded Lithium. What are you guys up to? Tell us a little bit about the background of the company.
Well, we formed about 3 years ago after doing some study, and all of our team comes from oil and gas background. So we tended to approach it with a very similar perspective in terms of let's find where it works and how can we do this in the lowest cost manner. It's been our vision all along to be a low cost lithium producer in an environmentally friendly manner. And that led us to look around the Western Canadian basin. Where could this be? That then took us to, okay, where could it be the cheapest to develop? And that took us to a number of areas, and we chose Kindersley for being what we thought would be a premier area for lithium from brine development.
Excellent. And that actually did anticipate my next question. So this is from brine, meaning it's from these kind of, and help us out here, kind of like a salt water type situation. I think people might be surprised that actually there is lithium in this part of the world.
Yeah, there's lots of lithium in the brines. It's just a matter of where are the brines rich in lithium located. And there's brine everywhere in Western Canada. What people don't realize is most oil is produced with a brine of some kind, but the quality of that brine can vary considerably. So we purposely targeted areas where we could see very high lithium-rich brines. And we also chose an area where there is no oil or gas in the system, because from the perspective of pulling the lithium out of the brines, those are just contaminants to us, and they must be removed before we can process the brine. If we don't have them, we save on some of our costs.
It's very fascinating. Just before we go to the main project, then you guys have the Kindersley Lithium project. It is a thing, isn't it? This crossover between oil and gas and lithium, isn't there? Like within these industries, like you do see like oil companies showing interest in lithium and the potential of extracting it.
It does cater to the skill sets of oil and gas expertise. It's all about subsurface fluid dynamics, which you learn a lot of when you do oil and gas activities. So we're just translating our skills from the oil and gas sector into this new energy transition industry of lithium. And pulling it out of brines can be a very easy and inexpensive way to get lithium into the new market.
Okay, excellent. So tell us then about the Kindersley Lithium project. This is your flagship from what I understand. Tell us what you're working on.
Well, we've assembled a position of about 300 square miles that we plan on developing. We've taken the one area for our first development. Based on our backgrounds, you don't develop it all at once. So we're developing about 25, 30 sections of land or square miles into the first phase of our lithium project. We've done a preliminary economic analysis of that area, and it's telling us we can generate a 49% internal rate of return after tax, and the NPV 8% after tax is about $1 billion or about 1.3 Canadian.
And interestingly, uranium producer Denison Mines has taken interest in the project. Can you tell us about that and how that developed and what is going on there?
Well, clearly, Denison is in the industry of energy transition away from fossil fuels with their projects in uranium. They're a very technically savvy or technically astute company, multi-billion-dollar company, so they're able to bring some expertise as well as capital to our project. It's structured in a three-phase earn-in approach, where they can earn 30%, 55%, 75%, depending on how they invest. So if they invested in the entire project of those three phases, they would have invested a total of $15.2 million, $3.2 million directly to us, and another $12 million in terms of project expenditures. That's how they're coming into this. But we're really looking forward to working with them because they're doing some very unique and technically challenging new projects in uranium, where they're doing in situ extraction. And that does have some similarities to extracting lithium from the brines as well.
Interesting. So, in a sense, they not only might be interested in the lithium that you have, but perhaps even a little bit the expertise.
Yes, I think we can benefit from each other's expertise, to be frank. But certainly, we've been working on this for a while in terms of how do we develop it. We've drilled our first well, and it's a good source of brine for us. We've taken that brine from that well and sent it to different technology firms that can extract the lithium from the brine. So we continue to work with various lithium extraction technologies to find which one's going to be the best. And it's kind of this interesting world where there's more technology companies out there for lithium extraction than there are brine companies needing their services.
Fascinating. Just tell us a little bit, how much is Denison investing? Like, what is the nature of this deal? What's the structure here?
Well, there's 3 phases. So they've already paid us for the first phase directly into our accounts. And now we're going to establish a project expenditures account that we will manage. And they will spend $2.2 million in phase 1. Phase 2 is the opportunity for them to invest some more money into us and additional $3.4 million into that project phase. And that should see us having put in place the pilot. We can then start to then take it to the next phase, which brings in more money to us and another $6 million into the project expenditures, so that they are now helping us build the feasibility studies, which takes us closer to commercial production.
So then what do you think is there? Like, what do you envision this project turning into with the results that you've developed so far?
With what we've done so far and the preliminary economic assessment we've done of our property, the first phase alone, and there's at least 4, maybe 5 phases that we would see ourselves developing through time. But we'd like to see that first phase develop quickly to meet the demand that's going to be coming at us in that 2027 to 2030 range, where the demand for electric vehicles is going to cause the lithium demand to spike upwards. So we want to be a part of meeting that demand. And if we build our project, we'll drill about 25 wells. We'll build a facility. We'll have pipelines pulling that brine into the facility through a very, very safe pipeline system. It's never had any leaks whatsoever. So we're thinking about doing this in a very top-notch way. And in the Kindersley area, we'd probably have about 45 staff helping run the project and document all the outcomes as it's progressing.
Okay, excellent. So you're saying that you had finished the PEA, the preliminary economic assessment. So what are investors then, as they pay attention to this, and if they're interested in maybe taking advantage of the lower lithium prices right now, what do you have coming up in the next, say, I don't know, 6 months to 2 years? Like, what's next on your roadmap?
Well, I think there's a bunch of work that we can do in terms of updating the preliminary economic assessment with other phases, as well as the most important thing for us is the pilot, because the pilot will help us demonstrate what can be done with the brines out of this area, and it gives us the data that we need to build the next stages to do the feasibility studies. We'll need more data for costing for the feasibility studies.
Perfect. And when you say the pilot, what exactly do you mean? Like the test run? What do you mean by the pilot?
We would have a small facility on site that's processing probably about 6 cubic meters to 9 cubic meters a day of brine and turning that into a more concentrated solution without as much of the other ions. It would then be able to proceed into what's called the refining stage, where they take that highly concentrated solution and turn that into the battery grade products of either lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide. That's our plan.
As we're wrapping up then, Greg, what is your message for investors as they listen to this story? What is the opportunity here from your perspective?
The opportunity for us is we're avoiding a lot of shareholder dilution with this strategic investment from Denison Mines. Yes, we're giving up some of the upside, but this is really doing a lot of the heavy lifting. We're still very intimately involved with the project, and Denison, or the project expenditure account, will be paying us to implement the pilot and all these subsequent phases. So we're doing the heavy lifting in partnership with Denison, and they're helping pay the bills, which is important in this challenging times within the markets for any junior company, especially anyone in lithium.
Greg Smith, President and CEO of Grounded Lithium, thank you for joining us on this week's CEO Spotlight.
Thanks, Adrian. Great to be here.